All right. This is the very first live stream, the very first Edward Effect live stream in the history of live streams. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I should probably turn down the sound over here. Okay, so we're just getting underway and getting everything set up. I never live streamed on YouTube before. And I don't know how to see the comments at all. Okay, maybe that's how. Alright, so welcome to Brick by Brick. This is just where we're gonna build some Legos and talk about this piece is already together. Talk about rebuilding a life or reinvention or creativity or anything brick by brick. And my name's Edward. This is my new YouTube channel, and super exciting to do this. This is the very first live stream of all time, and I have no clue really what I'm going to be talking about. I wrote a list down here on my phone, so bear with me a minute while I pull that up. Today we're building the retro camera. It's a 3-in-1. And that's what we're going to be doing. So I pulled my notes up here. This is the first one. You know, I don't even know how any of this works, but that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start with, since a 3-in-1, I don't know how much everybody knows about Legos, but I assume you all know a little bit about Legos. I got into Legos during the pandemic, and I never had Legos as a child. I wasn't I had everything else. I was just more of a G.I. Joe kid than a Lego kid, and that just happened to be, the way it was. My brother had Legos. I don't know why. All my friends did, but I had G.I. Joe. So, pandemic rolled around, and I had sitting there with nothing to do, like, I suppose a lot of people were just sitting around and got into all sorts of weird stuff, like sourdough bread making. Hope, one day when our channel grows a little bit here, this is a baby, but, if you build something, you got to start somewhere. And we're starting here. I don't know if I'm not even in the middle of the frame. We got to get set up. Everything's a little janky. My whole setup, every single thing I have needs to be improved, but it works, and we're going to improve one by one our pieces as we grow the channel. I say we, meaning me, myself, and I, and that's what we're doing. So I feel really good about it. I feel a little embarrassed and shy. I'll just admit that right up front, because I'm talking to myself. But a lot of people do this, and figured it out. So, why not? Why not me? This has been a whole year of reinvention and trying out new things. And so today's goal, other than to build this camera, which I'll show you right here. This is a 3-in-1 retro camera. I don't read the numbers because we're not in a parts department of an automobile dealership. I don't have to. I'll try to think of stuff to say so I don't have to read off what number it is. Like that's only. When is that good? Maybe like when you're if you're getting like the Cinderella castle, there's something very where there's multiple ones, and sometimes they even almost overlap. When they're retired and when they get a new one. And they're always, of course, Lego's always going to make the Cinderella castle because, that's evergreen. And anyway, so I decided not to read the numbers. I noticed people do that, but I think it's kind of filler. I have a few sort of rules here and there I've made for myself. A few sort of Lego rules. And I guess I don't remember any of them like in the moment. But this is what we're building on this. This is the camcorder version of the 3-in-1. One of the things I really like about 3-in-1 is that it's a good deal. We can't lie. Lego's pretty pricey. This is not. I'm hoping this channel makes money just to support my Lego habit. Come on. That's my goal here. We need the dough so I can keep getting my fix. My Lego fix. No, I'm just kind of kidding. There's a whole lot of talk about if you should monetize your habits or not. And the great thing about this is it's something I just sort of enjoy doing. And I built this whole studio, which is a Lego studio, during the pandemic. And, once I got into them, I got super addicted to Lego. Henceforth, why now I have to side hustle on YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. I really like making videos, and I'm a filmmaker, so it makes sense. This is the new sort of thing. I don't know. I'm just gonna ramble. I guess I'll lose my train of thought. Maybe one day when we have some fans, y'all can keep me on track. But until then, we're just gonna talk. I don't know if this has a discovery on it or not, but anyways, the 3-in-1. That's where we were. Oh, I do want to say, I'm in Medellin, Colombia, right now, and so there's a surprise. You wouldn't expect me to be in Colombia, where the Lego studio that I've literally built. But yeah, that's how things happened. Maybe we'll just talk about that a little bit. I came to Colombia. I have a cousin who lives here, and he was a little sick. He needed some help, and I speak a little bit of Spanish. Now I speak great Spanish because, well, I've been here for 5 years. And I took it upon myself to try and improve as much as possible. And I have also on this channel a bunch of shorts that I've been doing here and on the rival, social media streaming services. But they're all, a lot of them, hopefully it'll be half and half eventually, are in Spanish. In Espanol. But the stream is going to be in English, so I hope everyone can keep up with that. That's just, I still am better at English than I am at Spanish, and that probably will always be the case. Anyway, so I came down here to help my cousin for a little bit, and then he left to go to the U.S., and that was a few days before the pandemic. Before, I guess, you're not supposed to say those words on here? I've heard other people like not say words, so maybe I don't have it. I'm not in front of the camera like enough, right? Is that what's going on? Gotta be more. Okay. We're figuring it out. Maybe this guy can go here. We're going to change the setup a little bit. And then move that over there. Maybe. See, this is let's just call this like a beta stream. Like, this is a test stream. This isn't the real thing yet. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's just sort of, I couldn't figure out how to just test. So we just went live, like Bill O'Reilly said. That's how we play. That's how we play over here in the Edward Effect. Let's see. So how's that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay. I'm sort of like trying to keep my iPad here just for make sure I got like where the chat, because I'm not my computer. Well, you guys don't care about the logistics. Anyways. So a few days later, I was supposed to fly out. And I love Colombia. It's a beautiful country. The people are amazing. I'd been here once before, many years before this, and I've always wanted to return. But, you're busy, and you can't. Let me turn on the air conditioning a little bit here. And so let's see. All right, so are we still not quite positioned correctly? So anyways, the pandemic started because of that thing. And my flight was that day. And the airport closed. The flight canceled. So I figured, all right, well, not so bad. I'll just be in Colombia for a little bit longer. And so I didn't know that little bit was going to turn into a complete lockdown. As we all know, the whole world was like that everywhere. And then the airport shut down, and didn't want to go through the Darien Pass or go on a boat, and I didn't know how long it was going to shut down, but the airport ended up shutting down for 8 months. So I ended up getting stuck here in Medellin, beautiful city, for 8 months. And during that time, I started taking some online classes at a university here to improve my Spanish, and met people, made friends, kind of like built a life in Colombia. So when everything opened up and I started building this studio and got into like a groove with doing all my projects and like getting a whole new life going, and pretty soon I noticed it had been a year, and I was like, well, I'll just keep sticking around a little bit, because the university opened up again, and you could go to class, or you could continue to take it, virtual. So I ended up just staying in Colombia. And here I am 5 years later, and I love Colombia. I love it. And I also love the United States of America. And that's how this all got started. Wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for all of that. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how these things happen? How life goes like that sometimes. And now is one of those times where I can't find a piece. Oh, here it is. It's always there, you know. Sometimes you think maybe they forgot it, and you freak out, and it's always like in the bag. All right, you should be able to see the instructions too, probably, right? Right. So put those there. And this is the radio. That's for music. Eventually, I forgot how to turn on the music, so that'll have to be in the next stream. As I said, the most important thing for this is to start, and that's my only goal, to start and go for 1 hour. That's the goal, and we've started. We've only gone for 17 minutes. That's not bad. That's okay. First, I thought it was going to be 7 minutes. I was like, oh my god, how am I going to find? I hope I can think of enough things to talk about. But you know, as we build it out, there'll be more and more things that, you know, come to me. If you haven't been to Medellin, obviously, I highly recommend it. If you think it's, you know, like you see in the movies and how it's sort of portrayed and how it used to be, it's changed a lot since those days. And it's always spring weather the whole year round. I know no one ever believes what I mean by that, but what I mean is it's always spring. It's literally called the City of the Eternal Spring. And people think that means it's not spring sometimes, but no, it's, you know, there's Endless Summer. That movie, you know, the surfing movie where they go around the world to surf. So it's always summer. Well, that's here, but spring. So who doesn't like spring weather? I mean, talk about that. Talk about flowers. That's that alone is enough to make you want to stay here, even though you had to kind of stay inside during, you know, that one time. And then I ended up staying inside for a long time. Afterwards, like for years, I became kind of this well, sort of a recluse, but I needed to change a whole lot of things. We'll talk a lot about that in the upcoming streams. But, you know, for years, there's a lot that has gone into this. And one of the things that helped me get through that, and one of it was this sort of, making Lego. Doing Lego. Making or doing, I don't know. There's you can't edit out the ums in real life. That's a good sort of thing to. You put that on a shirt. You can't edit the ums in real life. So, well, turns out I lose my train of thought a little bit here and there. That's okay. So I've been wanting to do this for a while. I mean, there's the setup of the equipment, which I know everyone thinks I ought to be good at, since I actually make real movies with, you know. But when you make a movie, like a real movie, you know, like a Hollywood movie, you have a team and you have specialists, and turns out I had to sort of completely I'm like a filmmaker who had to reinvent themselves as a filmmaker again, like from the bottom, to do these like YouTube videos. And didn't have like my teams and wardrobe and makeup and all that kind of stuff. And so we got to, you know, just learn. We had to basically I say we, because we're all in this together. So we had to go back to the beginning. And I hope, you know, if anything, throughout this whole process, it makes me better at my craft. And that's, you're always learning. But it's sort of funny I'm terrible even at using a camera. Like, people always like, oh, hey, you're a filmmaker. Can you take a picture of us? Like, with their phone. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't even. That makes me so terrified. That's like one of my, I don't know, maybe I should see a psychologist about that. Why can't I? My hands start shaking if I have to use a camera to take a picture of random, Midwest family who wants, just the right lighting or something. I'm like, please don't be like a group of young people. It's just like, oh my God. Let's see. All right, so we're on step 12. Here. We need a little. I've learned a lot about Lego too throughout this. I mean, since I told you I got obsessed with it, and you wouldn't know like how obsessed with it. I have over 50 sets now, and not to mention my own mocks, not to mention a train that goes all through the studio, which we're going to set up one day like a Mr. Rogers kind of intro thing. And let's see. Trying to, usually I'm completely focused on the Lego. I'm not also focused on talking. But, all right, so that's, over 50 sets. The real one, when we start the actual, what I'll call the official start of the streaming, then I'm going to do the Titanic. But I wanted to just do this little camera. This is cool. I like this camera. It's got good reviews, and I'll do all three in the one, because 3 in 1 you get a good deal. I mean, you gotta take it apart, but these Legos are such high quality that it doesn't matter. You can take it apart. Put it back together. So yeah, this is the beta stream. This is the practice one. Checking out how everything looks. Maybe I probably should. Let's see. Let's see, I'll bring up my list of things. I wrote down some things to say. Alright. Oh, yeah, okay. That's what I was saying. Yeah, so I found that during this time in my life when I was, living in basically this studio and building the studio, and everything was I was changing everything about my life. I found that doing something like Lego was kind of a meditative process, like you're doing something with your hands, which is, if you do something with your hands, it kind of occupies your brain in this meditative way where you sort of think without thinking that you're thinking, which is the key. You want to think without thinking about thinking. That makes sense. Once you start thinking you're thinking, then you're no longer thinking. And, so if you can figure that one out, everyone has their own sort of way to do that. It's kind of like, I guess, monks meditate. Everyone can meditate. I meditate, but only for 10 or 15 minutes. And, it's not a day, but it's not the easiest. You really gotta work on that. Whereas Lego, I mean, I could do this until all night long, no problem. I could do this instead of doing a lot of other things that a lot of people would think would be preferable, which is kind of good when you have a hobby that you really like also, because it gives you the opportunity to narrow down the things that you sort of allow yourself to be involved with, because the more things that allow that you tie up your time with, the less you can sort of take for yourself and what you want to do. So, the reevaluation of where all your time is going from after what, you're responsible for in terms of, friends and family and financial, and, get all that done, of course, and health. But then, those other things that kind of take up space in your life that you don't really, like, you're just filling it up because it's there. That's one reason, I hate calendars. I can't stand calendars, but you got to use a calendar. I have like a allergy to calendars. But I think I've noticed, that if you live by a calendar, which so many very successful people say that they do, so that certainly is a thing, and I could be wrong. But this is my stream, so we're gonna talk some trash about the calendar. Although, of course, there are things, you want this. The stream should happen every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on the Edward Effect. So but you gotta, maybe you could solve this with discipline. Maybe I don't have enough discipline, but I find if I'm living by a calendar, I want to fill up the calendar. Like, I want the calendar to, have all the different colors and be all full. And if there's a space in the calendar that has nothing in it, then it's like almost like an existential crisis. You're like, okay, well, I could be how to be. There's a failure in my life right there. There's a gap next Thursday. But then you figure out that the gap, that when you start to learn more about creativity and the culture of hustling and working all the time and filling up the calendar, that you start to learn that the spaces are actually where your brain is processing other things that you need. You might think you're not doing anything, but your brain's always really working. Your brain works at like 90. When you're fully in deep focus, say that's 100%. When you're doing nothing, say you're playing a video game, your brain's still going at like 95%. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Even when you're sleeping, your brain never sleeps. That's why you dream. Well, maybe we don't know why you dream, but obviously your brain's got to be working if you're dreaming. So, anyways, I can't stand calendars, but, they're a necessary evil. I even, to the point, I can't stand them so much, to the point where I have, I won't say her name right now, because, she'll start talking. You know who she is. Starts with an A and ends with an A. But a long time ago, I tried to sync all my calendars up, and I synced that all. When you get into those moments of extreme, like, all right, we're going through all this, and we're gonna get this all, everything synced and everything working out, and then the entropy of life eventually kicks you back down until you finally give up. So I had it all synced up, and then the entropy of life took over. And the entropy of life caused that to come unsynced. And it started saying, you have no events scheduled for today, even though I did. But I just never synced it back up again, and it just kept saying that, and I was gonna go in and delete it, but I decided, I kind of loved it when it said that. That's like if you have no events scheduled for today, that's what it tells you right when you wake up in your alarm, which I no longer have alarms either. But that's because I wake up really early now. Around 5 a.m. We'll get into all that. I have a whole thing that I've developed, all these routines, these morning routines, and this whole productivity. I mean, this is all part of the reinvention. This is all part of the building, and that's one of the reasons I have all this stuff I've been developing and doing, and not to mention a newsletter that I write all about it, which of course I want to promote, but I'm not going to because this is a beta stream. And but this is the whole point, is to kind of foster this community, talk about these things, hopefully meet some people who maybe are on a similar journey and just talk stuff out and just start this and have fun with Lego, and hopefully it's, I don't know, peaceful or nice to hear. I mean, that's kind of what my plan is, but I don't have an exact perfect plan. I was like, let's just go. Let's just start it. I don't know if look at the canvas. Is it too busy? Should I be straightening all the pieces out? Would that be too OCD? I do that sometimes. You just you want to stretch your Lego dollar, really, when it comes down to it, because it is expensive. And the Titanic is that's over $1,000 for that thing. So the 3-in-1s are nice. I highly recommend that, because the more time you spend with it, it's something you continue to want. You don't really want to do it fast because you don't want to get it over with. And so that makes you slow down, and that helps the meditative process even more. And wow, it's been over half an hour. That's good. I was wondering if this is going to be is going to be one of those where it's way drawn out, the time. How's time going to work in Lego? I guess I am doing Lego, so it's probably time's going to fly. But I'm also talking and doing something new with it. So maybe time would be slow. But no, it looks like time's flying. 35 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be a breeze. Well, for this second, it's a breeze. We're on step 19. And I guess maybe I should put this a little up forward so I know where the frame is. I'm a filmmaker, I promise. And let's see. Maybe that's blocking. No, I'm not talking to you, computer. Everything tries to talk back when you're not wanting to talk to it. Remember to hydrate. That's one thing I learned from watching Minecraft streamers. I love Minecraft also, but there's just not enough time in the day to make movies, write books, have friends, do stuff, do Lego, and do Minecraft. So, Minecraft is just there. The world is waiting one day. So this is one frustrating thing with like is when you have something like this, right? So these are, just these are called plates, right? This is one by one plate, and they're got stuck together somewhere in between here and Copenhagen. Or I guess they also have Lego factories. I think there's one in Mexico. They're building one in the U.S. I don't know if there's one in South America, because that's where I am in Medellin, Colombia, land of eternal sun, eternal spring. Anyways, so these things sometimes don't want to release, and you always want to use your teeth, but that is against the rules. There we go. Got it. You want to destroy your fingernails either, because, especially if you go get manicures, like I do. Alright, so this is, like I said, this is a test. This is only a test. If this were the real Lego stream, you would know it. And you would know it because we would be a little more organized. This should be like in the center. Maybe probably, okay, I'm gonna try something. Excuse me. Let's see. All right. Let's see if that's a little bit better. There's like a little bit of lag between the stream and when it shows up on live versus, it's a little buffer, so we'll see. But that might be a little better because you need this in the center. So as we, right? Okay, we don't want to see the actual stream that I'm watching on the stream. That would be trippy. Okay. So if this were the actual stream, I wouldn't be moving the camera around to test what. So this can come out more there. Okay. That looks a little better. Okay. So we got that set up. That's better. All right. What about this is just a test. This is only a test. All right. And so we can talk a little bit about the studio, I suppose. So studio is not that big. Can't really turn any cameras around, but maybe one day we'll do, crib style studio tour. It's about 200 square feet, probably do need a bigger one eventually, but this will do for now. And it's on the second floor in a little neighborhood in Medellin, Colombia. And it's a nice little neighborhood, very family oriented, near a park. And I built big sound panels, to help the acoustics and to block the acoustics from the street. Sliding panels that slide in the door. I mean, the whole thing is cool. And these blue walls behind me are actually fake walls, like old Hollywood trick. And that way I'm able to put up all the shelves where I have a lot of my sets, but I have so many sets that there is nowhere near enough space for all of them. So some of them I even have at my cousin's house. And a couple of them I've, given away. And, once you start to really get to know Lego, you want other people to get involved with Lego. And then you start thinking of their personalities, and you might think, oh, they really like this. This would be a good one. And then you start buying sets for other people. And then you have to stop that because it is expensive. And the more, if you start doing that, then you just end up buying stuff for other people. Or they end up, they learn you really like it and you get somewhere out. Then they start getting you stuff. And so I guess that's the progress that you make. Like I had this friend, and she liked frogs, and she told people that she liked frogs. And so you went over to her place, and she had frogs everywhere. All sorts of frogs, like frog coffee mugs, frog flower pots, frog porcelain dolls, like frog posters, and it was just like a thing. She had become known for liking frogs, right? And so all of her friends and family, whenever she had a birthday party, or when they came across a frog, Lego down, these guys will bounce and they will disappear. They would just give her frogs, and so the place is covered in frogs. Now it looked like she was obsessed with frogs. Let's see that. Well, we're not gonna mess with that wire right now. I can't really mess with the wire. So she was so obsessed with frogs, but she wasn't obsessed with frogs. It's just like people saw a frog, bought it when they thought of her, of any sort of type of frog. And now she hated frogs. She couldn't stand frogs. And you could see why, because they were everywhere. It was kind of like inundated. But these were all presents, and it just became known as that. So luckily, my version of frog is Lego, and I enjoy having them all over the place except at the studio. You want to keep your life, your Lego life, and your real life a little bit separate, because I also like other stuff. And so I didn't think I had like any Lego sets at my apartment, but then people are like, "Oh yeah, you got that one and that one and that one," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, well, those are the art, like the Japanese wave painting, and I really want the Van Gogh flowers, the sunflowers. That one looks really, really cool. Sunflowers. The way they did the sunflowers with, like, that Lego works really well for Van Gogh painting, because if you like look at Van Gogh's paintings, he painted very thick paint. You know, you could almost like break. You probably could if you, but don't do that. But you could like reach. It looks like you reach over and like break off the paint. I mean, I think he might not have even used a brush. Maybe he just used like one of those butter knife things. Painters call them. I don't think it's a butter knife. A trowel, is that what it's called? So Lego, like makes that kind of chunky look, which makes a Van Gogh painting just work really, really well in that medium. Anyway, so I'm going to get that one. Oh gosh, the list of ones I want to get is so long. But that's one thing the stream will help with also, is it will cause me to have to taper my obsession with Lego. Because if I can't build off stream, so I guess I'll get really good at streaming, because all I'll be doing is be like, God, I want to stream again, so I can put together continue this set, because I do want it to be like when I'm gonna do the Titanic. That's when we'll be really rocking and rolling for the real deal stream. When you can't sort of skip parts, because that's like a series. That's gonna take like a month of I don't know how many streams, but that'll be really cool, because something like the Titanic, we can talk about all sorts of crazy Titanic stuff, because the Titanic, of course, everyone is fascinated with that subject, and some people are so fascinated they build submarines that aren't even ready to go, and then try to go take people down there and don't come up, as we saw not too long ago. Anyways, so we have lists of stuff that we can do that we want to do on stream, and when this really starts getting going, it'd be nice to have different stuff from the audience. There's all sorts of ideas. This is just the first one. This is a test beta. This is the beta stream, and I'm still gonna leave it up, because we'll know building. This is like the first brick. That's today, and when you put the first brick in, it doesn't look like anything, of course. But we'll be able to I'll be able to look at it, fix everything, tell the positioning, and so we just had to jump in and do it. So if this seems like a little bit off the cuff, well, that's because that's what it is. That's what it is. But that's okay. You got to start somewhere, right? And I'd be doing this anyways. I probably would be just talking to myself, so I'd appear crazy. So this is at least, maybe this is what we'll say. I do this so I do not appear crazy. Do not talk to myself. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't be talking to myself. That was a joke. Let's see. Interesting. So, everything has been working out really well with my YouTube channel. I've got 100 subscribers, which I'm stoked about, because I don't have any expectations, and I've sort of reached a point where I've done enough of my own stuff. Otherwise, I don't really have any sort of pride or ego riding on channel followers. Like, it's fun. I want millions of subscribers. That's the goal. And so I want to achieve my goals, and there's reasons for all that. So I do, but I also don't have, this isn't like a live or die thing. This is like a really fun thing. And everyone says, well, not everyone. What am I talking about? Maybe I've just been so like engrossed in this world, when you get so involved in something, you think everyone is everyone, but you're really looking at it myopically, and it's just what you're involved in. It's really like 0.0001% of the population. Let's see. I guess I'll look at the frame on playback. And so people like say that YouTube, like, you should have started, like, everyone's always like, oh my gosh, if only I started back then. But you can't play that game, because that's just an endless game. Nose itches. What do you do when you're on live and your nose itches? You just got to scratch it. This is live. All the dirt, all the grit shows. But one thing I think it's fun is I'm still learning all this stuff, like all this YouTube stuff, and it's kind of cool. I don't have any real expectations, just to make cool stuff and see what happens. And so I have a few videos up there. I don't have 77 videos or whatever, because it's a lot newer than that. I don't have 150 videos, but I think with just the few I have, to have 100 followers, and I haven't really promoted it that much, so I'm thinking that's pretty cool, and I'm gonna roll with that and let this thing grow organically. Let's see what this Lego stream does. But what I was saying is that a lot of people are saying that people, like, YouTube is like a young person's game, which I still consider myself a young person, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe not anymore. But I mean young, like 20. You better be like 20, start your. But also, like, what are you gonna learn? Like, everyone's a coach. You're gonna learn life lessons from a 20-year-old, or you want like that old cowboy guy, so you want your life lessons from, and from up in the holler. Like, what does he know about life? He's probably so. Like, what do they? You can teach tutorials to other college students, or how often you can shoot around your dorm. I don't know. But the point is, a lot of people are saying that the range of audience is growing a ton for YouTube. So anyone who is older, even like 60, 80. I mean, I don't think that really age is a factor anymore in YouTube. We all know Facebook's for grandparents. So everything's sort of spread out. And everyone's just getting older anyways. Did you know? Every single person is getting older. So a lot of people have grown up with YouTube. And now they're, like me. And so I think everyone should start a YouTube channel. Like, even if you just start it for like family videos, or one thing that I've thought about it is it's easy to like save videos on it. It just saves on their server. So if you have like family videos and stuff, you can save it and it's accessed there. And even if it's only accessed by your family and that's all, your goals are not to like monetize or compete with Mr. Beast, then you still have a place to store all that stuff easily, and then it's not cluttering up your computer or you should always save a backup. Everyone said you have to say that, but do people do it? I don't know. I probably have a backup saved somewhere, but who knows if I'll be able to find it. So it's at least on YouTube. I know where it is. Not like people are going to go back and watch a lot of stuff, but you never know. You never know. And you could show it to people easily. If you meet someone out in the wild, when you go outside and you go like into people, into humanity and the unpredictability of actual human beings, which is very good for you, which is why I had to come out of this cave and return, as people are so unpredictable. That's actually good for and healthy for your brain, like the social stuff. Not that you should always be worried about optimizing your brain, but it's fun. It's kind of maybe the point of life, some might say. Although I would argue that the point of life might be what I'm doing right now. And I don't mean talking on the internet. That's not the point of life. But a little Danish toy might be. 2 minutes left. Wow, this hour has flown by. I only got stumped there a few times. Just a few times where my brain was thinking what are we going to say? That didn't happen. I thought that was going to happen basically the entire time. So this is a good sign for the future. I still need to get this thing framed out just right. Well, and we didn't really talk about anything. I don't feel like we talked about anything. But I had fun. I hope you all had fun. Of course I had fun. I mean, look at what I'm doing. If I'm not having fun, this is going to be a big failure. Well, I guess we have a few seconds left to go, but so thank you for joining the Edward Effect this is Brick by Brick, our brand new beta testing. I'm not even going to call this episode. Well, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Episode 1. Let's call it that. And so then we'll have episode 2. I'm planning to do it every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. That schedule will probably change because everything always changes after you just begin. And this is probably the last piece. We'll continue this camera. Didn't really get very far on the camera. I might have to extend these to 2 hours, but I wanted to do 1 just to see if I could hang, and I think I could. So, good night. Thank you for joining, and ciao until next time. I don't know how to turn this thing off, so I guess I'll do one of those where you fumble around a little bit, then you do that whole, oh, are you still there? Oh, you're still there. And I still don't know how to do it. Maybe it's on the computer. Yes. Very fun stuff. How do you turn it off?